Good morning. Welcome to Drawing for Tattooers. I'm your host, James, and if this is working for you, be sure to let me know in the comments. Yeah, can you hear it? Is it coming through clearly? Also, if you're here, I'd love to know where you're from. So feel free to drop your location in the comments. And again, welcome to Drawing for Tattooers on Guy Hutchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Network, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are all invited to join in these live streams and real world events. We're beaming out every week. And so, with your help, we've become a really quality network of on demand and asynchronous educational programming. So, anyway, thanks for coming. And today, I'm just going to be sketching. I have a project I'm going to be working on later, and I figured we could work on it together. If you'd like to join in the stream, of course you can drop comments and questions in the chat. But also, if you know where to go, the homepage of Reinventing the Tattoo, you should be able to jump in live on the stream. Okay. Let's see what today. It's Monday, August 19th, 2024, and so again, thank you so much for being here today with me. Right. So I got a client coming in. We're going to do this Necronomicon book from Dawn of the Dead. So I think it's going to be, certainly it's going to be fun, but it's challenging, right? How do we develop a design that's going to have fit and flow, contrast, all these really important components that a tattoo is going to need? Well, I'm going to just go through a couple of iterations, loosely sketching again, trying to figure out what am I going to do for this particular project. Anyway, so we've got, we have a couple of examples of this movie character, this book. It's like alive. And so it has this grotesque screaming face. It's like screaming in agony, right? It's like a skull face. It's awesome. All right, let's dig in. What we're going to do is we're going to imagine that this is going to go on a particular place on the body. And so I'm going to just go ahead and grab some brushes here. Let's see. I generally like to use the Tattoo Smart brush sets. I have quite a few of those. And so in here, let's see, I believe in this one, and this is probably a nice tour of all the brushes that you could get. But I'm looking for a template for like an arm so we can design this tattoo. Let's see. Might be at the top of this series of brushes. Ah, there we go. Okay. Well, let's take our arm sleeve. We're going to pick a color, something kind of neutral, but not all the way dark. I don't want it to be too dark. What size? Not a huge one. What layer? There we go. Let's lay down our arm. Yeah, pretty good. I should be able to like resize it a bit if I need to, but I like this. I like about that size or so. We're going to be forearm today, so I like about that size. It for me on my tablet, it's it's roughly about the size of my hand. I can sort of fill this in. So, all right, I'm just going to make a couple more. There we go. So now I'll just put them all together. Maybe. There we go. All right. Now I have 3 different areas I could try some thumbnail sketches out with. All right, so I'm going to choose slightly darker tone, just so that way I can start to put down some of the shapes, the larger shapes that I want to build in here. All right, so we've got this book. It's already kind of leaning a particular way. So I'll start off with this thumbnail process, doing the most obvious thing. So, I mean, whatever the most obvious thing would be. Um, but after that, I may try a couple other of, options, whatever imaginative sort of approach that we can have. So, again, I'll just start and try to chit chat. Let's see, am I on a good layer? Yeah. So, just kind of starting off with some larger shapes. And I am not being too picky about what it looks like just yet. But I'm thinking about like, where might this book live? Um, we can see there's a bit of dimension when I look at the photograph versus the illustration on top, the lower version. There does seem to be a bit of dimension, like over here on the right hand side. How can we capture that? Again, it would be a bit of light effects, but I think pretty much just want to keep it. We want to keep it pretty loose and light right now. Go a little bigger with that. Yeah, just this loose sort of sketch. I'm looking for some areas of light. I don't have to render this out completely, but it's nice to kind of see what it might look like right on the client's arm. I really do think that having a mock-up too can be, of course, it's a really effective way to communicate. Um, but I found it really helps put me on the same page with my client. Just a little bit of they can see their tattoo design on an image of their own body part. I think it's pretty effective. Well, all right. So it seems like we've pretty much sketched in what the book looks like. So good job. But it's kind of, it is just kind of just sitting there. It doesn't have much movement yet. I don't think. I mean, it isn't like it could be more static, right? It could be really flat. Um, and again, that may be what you're going for. But taking a step back, like sort of going small with it, it's like, oh, it looks really heavy. It just looks like more of a block. So um, uh, instead of sort of committing to that yet, we'll try a few more designs. So let's do it. Try a few more designs. So I'll probably go back to that. Not quite all the way dark, right? It's not quite all the way to the lowest end of the spectrum, the darkest end of the spectrum, but pretty dark because again, we're really thinking about like just in terms of positive, negative, right? What's dark? What's light? What's in front? I do like this angle of the book. So I think the trick will be to try to keep it from looking like a piece of burnt toast. So it's funny. It's sort of like you get all these really cool ideas from people, and it can, all the challenges that you'll have to sort of figure out. Like, how do I make this? How do I make this work? How do I make it, very interesting tattoo? So all right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to move this around a little bit. I just want to try to provide some flow. So just going to try to erase a bit. You know what? I could do this another way. So we know this rectangle, it represents, right, the book, right? I think we're all on board with that, right? This is going to be this uh it's going to be that book right there. So uh this is a technique I like to use on Procreate. I'll also use it in Photoshop from time to time, but it's called a layer mask. And a layer mask is a non-destructive way to edit your photos or edit your drawings and your files here in Procreate. And I probably know that, but at the same time, like it can be really helpful just to sort of see like somebody use it. So open up. I can see right here, top layer, layer 4. That's where my thumbnail designs are. So I'm gonna tap on it. Another menu comes up, mask. I'm gonna click the mask. A new layer has popped up. Okay, so how the mask works, you can see that it's like solid fill right above the layer. If you can look in, if you can zoom in closely and see that, you'll see that it's a solid fill. If I add black, color here to this mask, it's going to erase. If I add white, it will add it back. So I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so you can see on my color picker, I'm all the way to the darkest dark that I can. I'm also on my layer mask. I have my brush out. So this is black. And then so if I go over it, yeah, you can see it just sort of like, see, it hides it, it masks it over. Right. It's all on this layer. So I could do it like through here too. Could make it kind of smaller and do smaller ones, that sort of a thing. Start to maybe give some movement to it. The other option, though, let's say I took off too much. If I switch over to all the way to white or anywhere in between on the grayscale, I can add a little bit more of that back, right? So again, this is it's on the white selection, but I'm able um, to move it around a bit, and I can also, I can use the smudge tool as well if we really want to work with the mask quite a bit. And there's something nice that's, I think, is starting to, maybe come out of that. So again, I've got the white on here. I like this. Maybe there's sort of a segment right through there. A little break in this sort of misty smoke. Don't want it to look too much like a racing stripe, I guess, at this point. Don't care too much, but just sort of going through some of these options. But again, I like that better. I like the shape of it. We're seeing the whole face on the, within our composition, but having something to kind of break up the elements, add some flow, some direction, maybe even flatter the body, if you like, right? I mean, I think that's what fit and flow is really all about, is that it's going to flatter your client. And so we're working with a difficult subject, right? It's really, it's very blocky. So again, how are we going to like, how are we going to like make this more of a interesting piece? Let's go back to our layers here. I'm going to make sure that I'm just on the drawing layer, right? Again, there's a layer mask, there's a drawing layer. Now I'm back onto the layer that I'm drawing, that I was drawing on before. And I am going to do another study. And so this time, I've got these two that are they're pretty much oriented the same way. Now that I've added a little bit of some negative elements to these negative sort of misty, smoky things, maybe it's time to try something maybe a little different. So I'm going to I'll just change the direction of the book, right? And we'll go this way with it instead. And maybe it's, again, there's like, corner to corner of that book, you can see. All right. And again, we'll just sort of gesture in a bit of the face that we're going to be working with. And a little bit of light, I think, is nice. And I know that we could adhere to really strict kind of dogmatic rules about like the direction that things go in. I do think that there is that those are valid, right? But also, I think you got to be willing to see what it looks like, even if you decide that you don't want to go, you know, that direction. You should check it out. Um, I, I I think you should probably listen to your clients, for instance, if they want to, however they want to orient their work, whatever direction. Um, you may suggest with your strongest suggestion that it you change it, right? I guess I'm thinking about the people will orient their tattoo to so they can look at it from their point of view, from their perspective. So think about a tattoo on a wrist or something. Um, if you place it on your body so you can look at it like your own tattoo, then it may very well look upside down to everyone else. Um, for example, like if I were to get this cross tattooed on my wrist and I got it so I could see it, it might look like that. And so again, anyway, it's like and that might be cool, but again, it's you want to be aware of all the different ways that your work can be sort of seen. All right, well, I guess I want to do I'm going slightly lighter tone. I'm just going to block in some a little bit of value. Just a little bit of value, and then maybe I'm going to go back to this mask so that way we can, again, non-destructively experiment. Here we go. Got the chat. Hey, Creatures Cave. Good morning, creatures. It's really great to hear from you this morning. And yeah, Creature, you reached out and you were asking if we're still doing this show. The answer is yes, we're doing it. There's been so many fun activities this summer. I have I've had really great opportunities to go do guest spots. To let me make sure I'm on the right mask. Yes, and I'm gonna go. Remember, black. Now we should be able to, yeah, affect the mask that we're using. Excellent. So as I was saying, I've had really great opportunities this summer to do some traveling, some guest spots, and other conventions. So, but I love doing the show. I really do. I really look forward to it. It can be a bit nerve wracking. This morning, I was trying to get ready, and I was having some technical difficulties. And that's too bad, really, because we work hard to make sure that we're prepared and ready to go. But despite best efforts, you could still things are still gonna fall apart and fail on you. So anyway, I appreciate you being here, and I do plan on being here as often as I can because it's great to see you every week. Let's see. So I'm trying to diffuse one edge and then leave one edge a little bit sharper. Something like that is pretty cool. Again, we're in this layer mask, which I like a lot. I've really been enjoying using it, and yes, it's fantastic to see you. Thank you, creature. You know what? Let's go back to our layer so we can mess around with it a bit more. Each one of these, I'm looking at the timer right now. It's been about 20 minutes that we've been hanging out. You know, they're maybe not like the most impressive works of art you've ever seen. However, I've gone through 3 different compositions in a very quick fashion. After this, I can now, with a bit more confidence, spend some time really focusing on what these are going to look like, putting in the details, putting in the effort and the time, but with a confidence that this is going to be the way that I want to go. again, this might be depending on your client and depending on the level that you take these to. You want to inspire confidence. That's what I believe. And so it depends on the personality of the client you're working with. You may end up you may have decided this is a good time to show them the progress. Um, and then again, you may not. You may decide, no, they don't need to see how this sausage is made, as it were. And so, having some way to visually communicate with your potential client or whoever it is that you're working with, um, really, I'm always looking for that. I'm always looking for new ways to, you know, approach designing things. Oh, let's see. Don't know what that was. Add a little bit of value here. I like that, it kind of tucks it in. Now I don't want to lose it that it's a book. So it's almost like we need to have this extra corner somewhere over there. Um, I guess as I look at the illustration, there's a really nice detail of the pages are starting to, you know, come out. With this one, it's almost hard to tell that it's a book, right? With this photographic example. So just spending a little bit of time with it, I think, um, has been helpful as far as that goes. So again, this third composition is cool. Um, I wonder, I wonder if we couldn't. Yeah, let's play around with some of this first one. I think that it's like, again, it's really close to it was the most obvious one, but I like this first one the best as I'm just sort of looking at them and I'm thinking about how they're going to fit on the arm. If there were more work all the way over here on the right side, um, this furthest this furthest right one right here. If there were more work on the arm, maybe there was some piece over here, something taking up this, like we needed to fill this space. I could see filling this space with it. I don't know if I would start this way, but I could certainly see doing one like this, sort of exploring like how this could integrate with other things. I think if it was starting, I like this one. I think the best is just as far as like how it's composed and how it fits on the appears to fit on the body. So get rid of some of those marks. And so we will commence with this one, developing it just a bit, getting ready for our final sort of consult with our client. All right. Well, again, I may end up at the end of the day, I may end up using this reference and sort of really following it very faithfully, if you like, almost using it like a reference for a portrait, let's say, because it is a it's a character. This particular object is, as a book, it's a character in a movie, and so it's very specific. You can take some liberties, as we see in the illustration above, but you don't want to stray too far because then it becomes not the character. You lose something about its identity, as it were. And so here's what I want to do. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate that just so that way, I don't change things too much. But let's see. I'll turn off one, turn off that one. Good. And I just want to focus on the composition that I like. So again, I'm saving my work as I go. If you see me saving a few new files, I'm saving my work as I go. So that way I could come back if I needed to. So I'm trying to think ahead. Again, all these digital tools, Procreate and stuff. Yes. Good morning. Love from Virginia. Yes. Thank you, vibing in my city. It's great to have you here. Right. So like I was saying, I Procreate, all these digital tools, they're really great to use. For me, when I was learning how to tattoo, we used tracing paper, and we would draw everything, sketch it out, and then go through a series of refining steps of tracing it and whatnot. And so that's the way I think about all these layers in um, Procreate or Photoshop for that matter. I've always thought of them as almost like layers of, well, they're transparent, or again, they could be opaque as well. But it's like it's almost like a collage of approach, right? You're making small pieces, you're putting things together in different ways. Um, Anyways, like how do you think ahead about it? I think it does take a bit of experience. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna like focus on this one, kind of get rid of those other ones for now, right? Again, we can still pretty much see most of the shape of the arm, but we're kind of clearing the visual field, as it were, and giving ourselves some breathing space. Excellent. So, again, what I really like here, and the thing that I'd like to include somehow is are these little torn pieces of paper over here. You can see I'm kind of out highlighting them for you, but is some sort of paper detail. I think that's a very clever way. So I want to borrow that from this illustration, but I think it's a very clever way to indicate for the audience this is a book, right? We're drawing a book. So let's get rid of that stuff. And so I'll jump up here to this layer 6. I can also turn this down a bit. Again, one of the nice things about like using a tracing paper approach, something like this, it does reduce the contrast. So you can kind of see the shapes a bit more clearly, right? I think if if we look at this one, I'll zoom in for a moment. We really focus on it. It's like, oh, there's so many details. Again, if we're starting to shade all these details out, render it or something, it can be very easy to get lost, to maybe add too much value, something like this. Um, I think if we zoom back, we scale back again, we have this form, this shape, kind of it's a book shape, right? But also prism. Books are like a prism, right? So as far as a geometrical shape, and we can see there's of course the top of the book, the cover of the book, it's a plane, right? It's like a plane. And so this book is going to have 6 other planes, right? We're only going to ever see 3 of them. So it's not so dissimilar from uh, you know, a cube kind of concept, right? And if we're thinking about how do we render, these sorts of things, um, we could certainly have like a very dark, this is, the way that this one is sort of rendered, the way that that works is we have this very dark edge here, right? Light is shining from this direction, from above, and yeah, it's not hitting this plane, right? There's no light hitting there, and then down here underneath is probably all the way dark. On this edge here, again, it's like on this edge here, we're probably getting some reflected light, right? So as far as tones go, I need to take some of that out. As far as tones go, we have a very convenient kind of 1, 2, 3, right? Same thing with this book. I did exaggerate a bit, but that's what I want to do over here too. I want to add this reflected light, some lighter value, in order to showcase that there are pages. Um, so again, it will be a challenge, but this is what I'd like to do in order to, um, sorry, in order to make sure that we kind of include that detail, that there's some paper. And we may have to take some artistic liberty there, but get rid of that, and don't need it. So yeah, very good. All right, so I will what I'm going to do real quick, just sort of trace this out. Rather, I'm going to pretend that it's like this is it. I've got it. I really, it's really what I want. So I'm going to try to go through this process of tracing it out. So oftentimes I'll use a very, you know, contrasting color, high key contrasting color in order to see where I'm working, especially when I'm doing some of this tracing. Um, the same thing again with the tracing paper. Might use a different color. That's really helpful. Uh, Way back when we didn't, I've worked at shops and we didn't have a thermofax or like a machine that makes tattoo stencils. So we'd have to trace those out by hand. If you're familiar with tattoo stencil paper, if you actually trace on top of it, you can pick up that stencil um, stencil medium, and then you can make a stencil by hand rather than using the machine. It's very time consuming, and if you mess up, you like you break your, you rip the paper, or you put it on one too many times. Um, yeah, you got to start over. So that can certainly be a challenge. All right, let's get into some of this. So I'm looking at it. There's a little bit of textural detail, but not too much. Don't want to go crazy with it. So I'm going to do just a first initial outline, and I'm going to make it pretty bold, just to kind of give myself something to start with. So I like the kind of the wonky shape of the book. It's the way that it sort of laid it on the skin. So we have a plane change. This is I'm just going to treat that like a plane change, like I was talking about before with that block example. So we have a little bit of dimension. Try to draw a bit more carefully, a bit more formfully now. A little off. Nice double tap. We can erase it. I will admit it is habit forming to do that. The double tap, you erase stuff. Boop, it's erased. But you can put it back. But I do think it's a bad habit to get into, to rely on that too much, to try to perfect your line work too much. That can be, again, kind of self-defeating. And you may find that you're you might be sketching on a client, and you're tapping on because you try to tap to erase so much. I like that corner. I liked it kind of wonky, but I think it's a little bit too much. So let's see. I think I am going to use my liquify tool, and I'm going to use it to pull this up just a bit and maybe push that down just a bit. Right, rather than erase it and redraw it. It's like I know how to draw it, but ooh, that's kind of cool. Just a little. Oh, that's fun. So a little bit of liquify kind of pushes it around a little bit, and now it's kind of it has that prism thing that we're talking about. It like has all the planes, as it were, but there's a little bit of flow to it, right? It's just a subtle movement to the whole thing, just because we were messing around with it. So yeah, I like that. I'm starting to see the potential for maybe some of these pages and stuff to be down here. How are we going to do these pages, everybody? Like we can't just tattoo all these like parallel straight lines. That's no fun. I'm not gonna, all right, sometimes it's fun, but occasionally you might draw something too complicated. It's not as doable in a tattoo. All right, I'm kind of looking here for some reference, some inspiration. I don't know if there's a bookmark in it, but for instance, right? Oh, let's not do that. Let's go back to our pen. For instance, you could, and I might go back to the thumbnail stage if we decide you really need to do this, but you might end up putting in a bookmark again to kind of continue that book type of feel, right? To give you some clue, like this is a book. But I'm looking at these torn pages. It's like there's a little bit, they're kind of breaking, they're dog-eared pages. They're breaking over this edge. Same thing here. I won't get too finicky about the details right now, just sort of roughing that in because I think in any kind of, we start off with a loose sketch, right? But in any kind of refining step, right, you should just, I think, outline it like this kind of crudely, outline it again, right? We're going to outline it again. So, let's see. I'm going to do a quick, like, figure out the center of this shape that I've got, right? How do I do that? So I just gave myself a new layer so I could, do a bit of figuring. But if I go, from corner to corner of this shape, I know that that's actually going to be the center of this shape itself, right? So I can, again, sort of, there are, these lines are parallel, so that this middle line should be parallel to them. Again, these edges here parallel, so they should be parallel as well. It looks like we're pretty close to center, but let me reduce that so it's not so in our face. Hopefully you can still see those outlines, those layout lines a little bit. Now we can go back to our initial. And so again, I'm just going to place the nose bit. Looks like, if we really wanted to, if you really wanted to get, like, technical about it, you could do the same thing to your subject over here, right? And figure out, like, where everything is located, this way. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think the other thing you could certainly do is just use this to help you make sure that you have everything centered the way that you intended. So I'm just sort of drawing those orbital sockets, that would be there's eye cavities, wherever those are. And then it's a very, again, tortured mouth, wide open, looks like it droops down here. And there's all kinds of really interesting textures and grains and a lot of things to have a lot of fun with, I think, in this example. It almost looks like stone or wood grain or something like that, but it's again, I won't get too detailed, because the thought is like, well, I could, if I didn't have such a great, sort of example here, I could certainly take other references and try to, build something like this, especially in a way that's going to work for the project that we're doing. So I'm just really thinking, like I said, I'm thinking about, like, the refining, this is refining bit, but I don't want to get too caught up in details. All right, so that's starting to look like pretty much, block that in. That's starting to look pretty much like the shapes that we, had initially intended. Um, Again, I'm gonna, like, put in some of this misty, smoky stuff. I just want to install it so it's a part of it. I might keep this nice and thin, like a little wider one here, because again, the background could come up with all sorts of smoke. You could get all the smoke there if you want, but yeah, I'll have a slightly larger sort of break at the top and then a smaller one, and that'll help me include some of these paper details that I've been talking about. All right, pretty good. Add another layer. This time I'll use another contrasting color, but I'll make it a bit thinner. And as I'm starting to refine this line work again, what I want to do is I want to try to make a nice. I'm trying to clean up my tracing so that way I'll have something good to work with. So as I'm looking at the shape, um, like every line, if I zoom in, like this is a line. If I go back, right? If I go back, that's a line. But if I zoom in close enough, well, you can clearly see that this line is a shape, and there's an edge here and there's an edge here. And so, if your edge is very soft, let's see, that was make it a little bit bigger. So if your edge is like softened, right, you can, it's like it's diffuse, right? It's diffused edge. Again, that's really great for, you know, depicting rounded objects, right? You may not want that. You may not want that sharp edge all the way around. Whereas you can see at the top, right, this top here, that's a is a really firm, sort of crisp, definitive line, that sort of a thing. Okay, so new layer. Um, so again, I'm thinking about my line in those terms, and so what I want to do, what I find works often for me, is I will aim for the outside edge of the line as I'm making my sort of really starting to refine my sketch. I'm not going to worry about that break right now. Sorry, gang. Let's see. I want to keep to the outside edge of my line. Can't nail it. Here we go. I'm just going to try my best to hold it, even though it's not really well lined up. This is how I would start to refine my, my sketch. You start to turn off some of this junk, right? And it's like, oh, it's a much cleaner line, right? It's starting to develop. Now, I get it. This was like just a flat line that, we could certainly make far more perfect within the tools here, Procreate. But the point is that I'm trying to make is that, like, I used a much cruder implement to sort of make sure that I had it in there, and now I'm trying to, like, find this outline edge, and instead of, like, wherever, I'm just sloppily tracing it again. I'm thinking ahead, thinking about my future self. I'm gonna want a clean line, maybe. You know what I mean? And so how do I do that? It's again, it really seems like, you can start this way. All right. So just cleanly, you cleanly start to build this out. um Again, I am looking here, it's like along the spine of the book, it feels pretty even, and so we may end up putting a bit of texture there. Along this edge, it seems far more, there's far more sort of action going on. So what might that look like? Let's just go back for a second. Let's um let's add a bit of, like, some of these textures that will impact the edge, right? So that way we have just a bit more something to kind of go by as we're doing this, maybe creative, slightly more creative outline. So I'm just putting in just a bit of roughness wherever it sort of feels like it would, you'd start to have some of that in the design. All right, now go back to my, it gets confusing with all the layers, doesn't it? I don't want you to get upset, right? And I don't want you to give up. um Take your time, take it slow. Just do one or two layers to begin with. Before you know it, I think you'll really, you'll have very complicated documents, and you'll be able to, you know, dazzle people by scrolling through them very fast. And there are certainly people who are far better at using this than I am. But I think just keeping it simple, that's all I would suggest. Start real simple, and you might very well surprise yourself with how effective you can do it. Okay, so you know what? It's tough to see. So I'm gonna change it up a bit. Again, I'm working on my first sketch layer, my first refinement layer. I'm just gonna add, thinking about this, I want to be able to see it really well. Where am I gonna lay that refined edge down? And I'm a couple of, like, indents, and then a couple of, like, just slightly, it's slightly bulging out, like just a little bit of this edge of the book. All right, back to my tracing layer. I'll use the red like I was doing before. I've If you want to set, I think I think you just hold it. for some reason. I have these little presets over here. So I keep this. I keep these for consistency. I can't remember how to set them. So I apologize for that. But again, I find it really useful just to kind of keep things consistent. You never know like how big something is. Um, so as far as your this pencil size, right? So I keep it. I keep these little presets. It helps to keep it organized. All right, so I see my this darker green edge. I hope that you can perceive that. There's a slightly darker green that I used in order to kind of give myself this raggedy book edge. So I'm gonna carefully trace the edge of the green. And we'll go quite as bulged out there. Again, I'm not worried about those breaks just yet. All right. Could you have just made that up without all that extra step? Probably. But but um again, I'm just sort of thinking about this as an approach, as in a technique. How would I you know, how might I go from this very, you know, like rendered object to something that's more line based? Right? How are you gonna approach those lines? And again, I really do feel like, you can um, start to set yourself up for these really sort of creative flourishes. I don't think they're as effective if you don't have the form down first, right? All these crinkly edges. If you're not, if it's not attached to some form. And so what I mean by that is like, before we were talking about how this is like a like a cube, right? Um, it's like I don't know if I'm on it. Yeah, this might look funny, but so a cube, right? But it's like, you could be a new school artist, right? You really like that sort of a thing. I don't know if I can twist this thing or not. Maybe. Yeah, right. You got like that. Or you could twist that thing and make it all kinds of crazy. But again, you're kind of applying some of these textures and stuff to a form. That makes it a bit more effective. That's really all I'm saying. So we've got this oh, we have this, pardon me, form of the book. This book is like a prism shape, and now we're adding some textures. We're finding the line work, and the line work again. I think it can be uh, narrowed down. I think that might be like the best way to put it. So, all right, I'm just gonna continue. Make sure I'm on the correct layer. It's always good practice. I think just go back and check what layer you're on. Now that these aren't thumbnail sketches, this is more of a sketch. I don't mind going a little closer. Again, I don't want to get in like this and be doing that stuff yet. Not yet. I might do it, but certainly like for now, I could see really trying to capture the shape of everything. Additionally, I know that there are methods that you can use that will just simply give you outlines. You can use brushes that give you outlines, similar to what we're sort of talking about here. You can also just digitally manipulate it and make it happen. Um, but I guess again, I'm in this sort of the conceptual space of thinking about this like uh, paper, Procreate tablet like a piece of paper, and then like all the layers as being similar to some kind of a tracing paper, onion skin, something like this. All right, continue to, but I'm sticking with this convention, right? I am outlining that outermost edge. Now, what do I do here with these middle ones? Um, well, again, this will be an interesting kind of open space, so I may very well just sort of gesture it in for now. But I don't want to get caught up doing lots of parallel paper lines. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you know what I mean. Um, don't want to get too crazy with it, but something, you know what I mean? Just I can look at my reference, I can find another reference, but something that's going to help me achieve this. All right, this will be the very bottom of the book. Um, Back up a bit. Yeah, I think I'm going to change the trajectory or the angle of this line just a bit. Sorry. Anyway, I think drawing is incredibly enjoyable. It is. There's a lot of trial and error. I think. I don't think there are any secrets either. The only secrets are yours, right? And what I mean by that is like as you are making, get rid of that. What is that line? Weird green line in there. As you're making your work, right? You're becoming familiar with like your approach. You're becoming familiar with whatever it is that you're working on. And to be honest, like how you do it becomes apparent to you, right? And it's what somebody else would call, oh, your secret. But I think again, it's kind of this, it's a learned, I think what a lot of times what the, you know, the secret to art is sort of like what you were able to learn through doing it. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but really essentially what I'm trying to say is like you are going to learn how to do the thing you want to do, and it's going to look like magic to somebody else. It's going to look amazing. They're going to say, how do you do it? What is your secret? Um, and then they'll get mad because you're like, oh, there's, you know, there's no secret, but it is, I think, again, just a lot of just being diligent, consistent, easy to say, easy to say. I wanted to sketch this and see how off, right, how off that is. Let's get rid of that bit for a minute. I like the shape here of the bottom. May have to just have to reassess slightly, but I like the shape of the bottom. I'm gonna keep it. Again, here's a paper rip. Add a little bit there. And sure, why not? I like this detail. And then, okay, so eventually you get to you get somewhere. Hey, all right. So, um, let's see. I'm just gonna turn down all this green because it's pretty intense. But there we go. Now we're starting to have a much more refined line drawing that I feel like I could work with. I would indicate these areas, make it more interesting than this probably, right? But just sort of indicate it. Same thing. What I might do, and this I find helpful. So there's a firm edge, right? If I look down here at the bottom of this, I'm looking at this eye over here. I don't know if you just saw that little red mark I put over here. It's over there, right? Just put it down. So there's a firm shape inside of here. In fact, it's almost all the way dark inside of there. There's a little tiny bit of light, but for the most part, it's almost full black inside of there. So there's a shape, right? And then another one, same sort of thing. And then as I'm getting a bit more into it, let's see, what could we do? Again, we could add more of the textures. Make sure that's on. We could add more of those textures everywhere. Now that we're really starting to get into it, it's like, so start to add some of these lines that give us more flow. And then you might also even just kind of start to render, because again, I'm like looking at this reference, I'm trying to be inspired by it. I'm not just necessarily copying it note for note. If you are, of course, you can trace it this way. You already have these sort of built up forms that you can sort of figure out how to trace. And so, just sort of rendering this eye. Don't forget, right? What makes it skull like is it's referencing human anatomy. So, so right here, right in the middle of where the nasalis, the nasal, and the orbital sockets are, they meet here at the glabella. That's right here where I'm scratching in. This is one of the most key features for any sort of head study portrait type of situation. The glabella right here, just above nasalis. That's your nasal bone, right? There's a there is an open cavity there where all of the air passes through, right? So you can smell stuff, you can breathe. Um, I'm just using some colors so I can hopefully, explain some of the steps and like um, the concepts that we're using, steps and concepts. But again, I mean, you could render whatever you like, just to make it comfortable for you. Oh boy. Oh, Sandy is trying to beam in. Sandy, it's great to hear from you. I may not have given the right. I may not have given the correct address. So let me add you. Let me add you right now. So let's see, Sandy, and there you go. If you want to hop on, Sandy, it'd be awesome to see you. Oh, oh, Spirit too. Command V. Sorry, gang. I think I in all my haste to get going, I think I put the wrong address over at Reinventing. I'm sorry, but anyway, please hop on if you like. I'm just drawn away, and it'd be great to hang out. All right, so back into it. Right, I'm kind of looking, this whole mouth area, all that stuff in there. It's pretty dark, so I could just sort of block it in, and then there's this real piece that comes in front. I like that, but just sort of blocking that in, and right there like that. Cool. All right. Again, there would be a lot of challenges, trying to figure out how to get this book to look dimensional, but at the same time, there's so much texture in it. I'm really trying not to noodle. That's I had an old one of my old drawing teachers used to say, when you're doing too many details, it's like you're making noodles. Uh, hey, there's Sandy. What's up, Sandy?
Hey, doing good. I just woke up like
Oh, okay.
for my partner's
Yeah,
work, and so I figured I would
there's you.
pop on.
That's amazing. No, it's so early for you. I can't believe it. What time is it
Yeah,
there?
it's like 7.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but I was like just on the couch, and my cat and my other cat and my dog are all sitting here with me. So I was like, well, I'm not even gonna bother go getting into actual clothes. I'm just wearing a bathrobe right now.
Nice. No, nice. Well, again, this is the morning, the ritual, right? I
Yeah.
I find that I'm scrambling before work. I'm like every morning before work, I'm like drawing feverishly, almost like this. So
Yeah.
so this is the most like laid back version of my day usually. So
Awesome. Good. Well, then I feel at home.
that's awesome. So, well, I know that you and I were talking last Monday about Paradise. I
Yes.
know you're planning on going.
You betcha.
That's amazing. I
Yes.
know that we were also talking about maybe uh, all jumping on Jason's show and doing a Paradise Roundup.
Mm-hmm.
That would be certainly a lot of fun.
Excellent. Yes,
Uh,
definitely.
what's going on tonight with reinventing?
So Andy Chambers is going to be talking to us about lighting tonight.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I really enjoy Andy Chambers seminars. There'd be
Yes.
like it's not a seminar, but yeah, it's packed full of great information. So
Yes.
how can people join? How can people join in and watch that? Or
Yeah, so if anybody's like, "Whoa, what? Andy Chambers, that would be awesome." And you're not already subscribed to the Mondays or the Evolution, you can email me Sandy at reinventingthetattoo.com and I'll make sure to help you get on for the Mondays. And you can just even subscribe for the month to try it out, just so you can get on with Andy tonight. And is it September 2nd is not next week, but the week after, I think, and that one's going to be Adam France. He wasn't able to make it last week, but he's going to be making it on the September 2nd. So, yeah, if you just want to try out the Mondays, it's a great little time to do that. Ooh, look at that fancy little my email on the bottom. This is like a
this is
news show.
this is your email. So this is the
Pew, pew,
right
pew.
across the right across the lower third here, the Chiron. We can see this is so we can reach you
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
emailing Sandy at reinventingthetattoo.com.
Yes, because you can sign up just at reinventingthetattoo.com, but I do have to manually add you into a course. And so if you email me, then it'll just make sure that you secure a spot for tonight. Um, yeah, when it's that short notice, I just want to make sure everybody gets in. So my email. Ding, ding.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I really just my own testimonial is that I really enjoy getting together on Monday nights with everybody, doing some drawings that are, I mean, again, they're themed around doing tattoos, but they're fun to do. It's fun to be with other people who like to draw and draw stuff.
Yes.
That's really what I'm getting at. And then the other thing is the feedback. Like we give each other constructive criticism about the work, and I feel like that's a value that like you almost can't really put money on, if that makes sense. And I don't mean to be so like all mushy about it, but it's like awesome to have people that you respect and trust, and then you like you accept their critical feedback, and then vice versa, right? They are also ready to hear what you think about stuff.
Yeah, everybody's in that same like sharing and learning mindset, and it's a very kind group that we have, and so nobody walks away like feeling bummed about what was said. It's like they just feel like they can grow. I think as far as anybody has said, we've just had a really positive feedback on the like critiques and stuff that we have there. So uh, yeah, it's an awesome. I'm so grateful for it every week. Even if it's like, sometimes it's tough to make sure that you're there every single Monday, but it's like the best, and it makes a huge difference. I've found in my tattoos.
I really agree. I honestly agree that there's something uncomfortable about doing it. Right? Does this make sense? And what I mean in the best way, like you are out of your comfort zone. And
Hmm.
I know that there are people that like I love them, love their work. They're always drawing the same exact thing, right? And I don't mean and it's like again, I'm not trying to be like overly critical, but I guess what I mean is we all want to have a style that we settle on. We all want to have like be known for I don't I'm making an assumption here, but for the most part, people in my estimation or my understanding want to have they want to be known for their thing. They
Totally.
want to be known for their creative contribution to the world of art, tattoos, whatever. Um, and eventually, yes, you will be sort of developing your own sort of work, but it's like it's a really big undertaking. It's a process, and I think you have to like always be working on all these other things in order to kind of like uncover who it is you are, your
Mhm.
style, as it were. Like it doesn't, it's not as rich as it could be if you're sort of like immersing yourself in all these other practices and you're really, like again, making yourself uncomfortable,
Yeah.
just doing the
It's like
things that
cross
you love.
training. Like
Yeah.
something that we're if we do something that's totally, not what we would regularly draw. And then that's the beauty also is because there's so many different people there and we're all drawing different things. It's like when we draw together, sometimes it's the night where one of us is like, "Oh yeah, it's my strength. I am going to rock this exercise." And then
Hmm.
next week you might be like that's somebody else's strength and they're going to rock that exercise and you're going to just be like, "Whoa, this is really hard." But it's going to help you for the things that are your strengths. um it's like if you are a rock climber and you also learn, I don't know, breakdancing or juggling or something, and it might help you understand different things about how to move your body. um Same with art. And uh yeah, I feel like getting out of your comfort zone is really important for being better in your comfort zone. And especially nowadays when
Like that.
we have so many people that are, falling out of tattooing because they're finding that it's maybe slow, but it's like if you have the versatility to do all of these different things instead of getting stuck in just one thing, then
Right.
it's far more likely. I mean, not all of us are going to be like Guy Aitchison. Guy Aitchison, he will be fine doing biomech forever. In his, I mean, he also just grows with different styles and ways that he does biomech because he paints other things also, right?
Hmm.
So even somebody that's got a highly specialized style, he does uh, still life paintings as much as he can, and that regularly inputs new information and ways that he can look at the world and interact with that. But there's a lot of people that were really that came in for in the last 5 years, and they're just like, I'm just going to specialize in this one style. And now it's like if you're not doing more styles or being open to the possibility of styles or cover ups or something, then all of a sudden it's going to be maybe harder for you to have clients.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was really, that's a really great example of what you were saying. Uh, Guy does landscape paintings. He like again, a lot of his biomech ends up being kind of landscape like oriented, but he's doing something that is not this comfort zone he's so well known for.
Yeah.
Um, and and it informs it.
Yeah.
It does feedback into it,
Yeah.
which is I think it's a beautiful thing. But the point that is that we're I think that we're trying to make is like he has a very well defined style, Guy Atchison. But he's not doing the same things all the time. He is being versatile. He's changing things up. He's changing the subject matters that works with. Um, and the danger is like you want to be able to like just be so recognizable that whatever you do is working. And the danger I feel like is just sort of getting stuck into drawing this original character
Hmm.
over and over and over and over again. You draw the same original character, and it just for some reason it doesn't go very far. And I don't and I this is not to discourage anyone's original character design, but I think the point is do do other things, right, to help bring that out, right? You'll achieve that original character, but not through the way, not through this direct approach. There's a
Yes.
certain like a somewhat surreptitious approach to getting to the thing that you actually are, that you're interested in. um but yeah, so what do you got going on today, Sandy? Do you work, do you have tattoos later today?
No, I never tattoo on the Mondays. just dedicate my time to being able to prepare for tonight and work on reinventing stuff. So this week I'm hoping to be working on a few things after today, but it's been a lot of reinventing stuff lately because we've got a lot going on. We're trying to set up um, a easier platform, a better platform right now, that'll make it so it's easier for everybody to connect and access everything all, yeah, a little more streamlined. And we've got some fun YouTube video, like a little YouTube series coming out in the next few days as soon as we can get it all perfected. So that'll be fun to for anybody that wants to just get some little, we're calling it 20 insights from reinventing the tattoo. And so we've got questions from people like James and myself and several other members, and Guy answering them. And then we've also got a cover up course coming up, which we're going to be starting to promote a little bit more um, in the next week or two as well. And so you'll all see some more stuff like about that. But I can't recommend that enough. It's going to be a lot of hands-on stuff with Guy, and we're going to be really getting into an intensive thing about cover-ups. And at the end, people will be um, actually doing a cover up on someone and having that get feedback on that before you do so, and feedback afterwards from Guy as well. So um, definitely that, and that's another thing that we're talking about, making sure that you are um, doing the things that will allow you to have more clients right now. And I feel like, man, cover ups is a good way to guarantee that you're going to have clients after clients, because there's just so many people that need cover ups. And
So true. It's so
yeah,
true.
I feel like half my tattoos that I do are cover ups. Um, and and if you can add that in there, not only does it mean more tattoos because you're doing these cover ups, but it also means those people are going to be like wanting to give you the rest of their skin. Once you've done a cool cover up, they're like, oh, I trust you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that it really is important because and I really it's funny. I just read a review. Uh, it wasn't for the shop I work at, but it was for a shop that I think very highly of, but they got a bad review, and it was just simply because like the customer didn't actually get work done there, but they felt like they just weren't being taken care of.
Yep.
It was like they just didn't feel like they were being tended to. That nobody was there to to sort of like to care about their work. I don't think that was really the case. It's just a miscommunication. But however, it's like it's like you're saying, like this is the um, you know listening to them, like taking care of them in certain respect is it's kind of what we're doing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Making sure they're safe, make sure that they're getting their vision realized. But yeah, it can be difficult
Totally.
dealing with another body, right? Especially if they really are, they're excited. Like for them, it's they want to be focused. They want focus, right? They really want you to focus on them and do a great job.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like if we
hey,
go to the doctor or something, it's a really important thing for us. We're vulnerable.
yes.
Um and it's like the most important part of our day or whatnot. And
Hmm.
for some people, like a tattoo is going to be like, the most important part of their month. They've been like thinking about it forever. And then like maybe for us it's, oh, we saw somebody yesterday, they wanted a similar design, and it's like less of an epic big thing for tattoo
Hmm.
artists sometimes, but it's like for that person it's like a really important moment, and they are being vulnerable with us at pretty much all of the steps of the um away from like sharing their ideas to actually coming in and giving us their bodies and getting tattooed and stuff. So
That's exactly what I was what I meant. And so thank
yeah,
you. I think you put that very well. So Sandy, we can reach out to you by
yeah.
just emailing you at this email address that I have scrolling at the bottom. And then people can get you can get involved. You get
Yeah.
involved, and I think I have a fun QR code right here.
Ooh.
This one. Wait, it's been up the whole time. You can see it. Um, it's right here in the corner. Reinventing the G. So you can get in there and you can join up. It's a la carte, right? There's all kinds of like courses and stuff, whatever you're interested in. And the other thing that's kind of cool, like you could get, I think you can get access to Tattoo Now
Yep.
software. Tattoo Now, it's Gabe Ripley's company. Been around since the '90s. He's been doing
Yeah.
tech for tattoo artists and stuff. And so there's a whole suite of software that can be really useful for your tattoo business. But Gabe also does really great seminars for the business of tattoos, which is can be elusive. I think it can be a very difficult subject. I think, right? How do
Yeah.
you become a good business, a good tattoo business, as it were? And there are ways. There's people that have really had lots of success. So it's really good to talk to those folks.
Yeah.
Uh,
Another thing of getting, out of your comfort zone, but it's going to benefit the whole.
oh, not that.
Woohoo!
Ah, this one. I want to do this just a little, right? Just a tiny. It looks
Yeah,
more.
the
It looks
li-
slightly more
liquefied is
perspectival.
helpful.
That's the today's theme was about like this loose sketch thing. It's trying
Yeah.
to trying to like, all right, we're loosely sketching, but honestly, it was like what I really was thinking about was this refining step. That's really what kind
Mm.
of today was about for me. Was this was like finding your edge, right? When you're doing like this is what I do, and I feel like it helps me a lot. If I've got a big fat stencil, you know what I mean? You do like you got a big fat stencil. It's
Yeah.
like where do you put that line?
Yeah.
I just right. Let's get rid of this, right? And it's like, all right, I've got a big fat stencil. It's like,
Yes.
where do I put the line? Do I try to all right, I'm gonna try to hit the middle. Okay, it's over here now a little bit. No, it's over there now.
Yeah. Like, oh,
What
okay.
do you do? What do you do? So again,
Yeah.
I do like to pick an edge. It's almost
Yeah.
like if you had like a letter, right? And right, you have a letter. Oftentimes, what I do when I have lettering, Sandy, I know you don't do a lot of lettering. It's not your favorite thing.
Not my favorite.
Not your favorite. Well, a lot of times when I have lettering and stuff like that, what I'll just do is like, especially if it's a font, you know, if it's like, if it's something that again, if it's something that I script wrote, I
Hmm.
may end up sort of retracing it possibly, or even, just if you just print out lettering, right? Whether it's your
Yeah.
own lettering, hand lettering, um, a font, or even like from a book, same difference of font. Um, what I find, what I'll do is I'll just have this solid stencil shape, right? And then I'll, of course, whatever the ink color is that you're going to use. And when I'm tattooing it, I'm gonna try to use a three liner here, right? I might like sort of get in there, right? But I'm gonna attack this edge
Hmm.
first. Ah, and
Just to get like a real crisp side.
try to get that crisp edge.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway, it's like it's all right. All right, it's all right. Anyway, and then what I
Understandable.
may do is I may just sort of
It's
like I
different
may
when you're
build
cut.
it up. Sometimes I'll
Yeah.
do it this way. I'll just sort of like fill it in first, depending on the scale of the line, if you
Yeah.
like. You know, because I'm treating this letter form like a line. So
Yeah.
fill it in, and then if we're getting really nitpicky, if we zoom in real tight, like there's a little bit of that edge. that I might do one more outline, but I'm really trying to attack this next edge, just filling it in.
Yeah.
And I feel like I learned this from Reinventing the Tattoo, just like how Guy does a line. You know what I
Totally.
mean? And I think a lot of people do lettering this way, but it's like this is how he does outlines and stuff. A
Yeah.
lot of times he builds it up. And for me, um, I think what I'm trying to suggest is that like the layout lines that you tattoo, where the gray lines or you're tracing it like this, you have to hit them accurately. So that
Hmm.
way you actually are refining. There
Yes.
might be a first initial tracing or sketching that is very loose and it doesn't really matter. But
Hmm.
once you get to the next step, you're trying to refine it. That layout line, I think is crucial. And you really okay, so this would be like a single pass, right? You're gonna try your best not to bobble it, and you're kind of hitting the center of this shape, as it were. But now it gets wider. I'm gonna stick to one side
Yeah.
rather than like end up on this inside track or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure all you have to do is tattoo this once for you to understand all the things I'm talking about.
Yep.
Like, it can be a nightmare, until you really get the hang of it. But this is again, I just build it up. I don't like to just make a total shape. It depends. But again, I mentioned it earlier, like all these lines are basically shaped. They have two edges and stuff.
Yep.
Anyway, we're here it is. I'm gonna finish this up and then follow that edge. Oh my god, almost.
I feel like
Ah.
it's often so much easier on a tattoo than it
Yes,
is on the screen.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
Like,
well,
yeah.
this would be a big one. This would be a big J for your tat.
Yeah.
Hey, that's not so bad. That's not
Yeah, there
that's
you
not
go.
that bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can grab this and I can go, all right, boom, that's ready to go.
Yeah.
That is ready.
It's ready.
So the same thing with with my this outline that I made,
Yeah.
it's it's ready. I'm ready to go. So I'm gonna hit it. Oh well, no, come on, guy. This and no
Is this something you're getting to do?
one. Well, yes, I am going to do this book. But I
Awesome.
don't know if it's gonna be this version or not, but I wanted to go through the process of designing it you know,
Yeah.
with the reinventing gang here. There we go. Nice and now it's nice and dark. It will make a great stencil.
That's awesome.
Um, I
That
I
looks like
would
it'll be
prob
a fun one to do. Lots
yeah,
of
I
very
think so. I would probably go through and then just do way more little fiddly bits inside of it.
yes.
But I might try other methods, like, maybe doing it in dots to
Hmm.
indicate the stencil, so it's not so
Yeah.
strong. Um, I
Yeah.
may
You
I may
build
do another line
strong
version.
ones.
I may do another line version where I do a slight I like, uh, a slightly bolder contour line around stuff often.
Mhm. Yeah.
Look at me, I'm just sort of just, like, wailing away on it. How about I follow the edge, right? Same thing I've been talking about. So follow the same I'll keep this same layout line that I was using, but again, I'm sort of developing just that refined edge. And there you have it. I think that would be this is just about ready to go, as is, and, I I had a lot of fun kind of preparing it. Again, it would be slightly different sort of approach if I really wanna do a hyper realistic version of this,
Hmm.
you know? But instead, it's my own inspired flash design,
Hmm.
right? And I'm
Yeah.
just drawing a boxy box and, here we go, a little bit more, and I think oh, I'm gonna turn it just a little bit. I don't know if you've ever like I've heard that said before. If you turn your paper, it's like, oh, it's like cheating. You can't actually do that. I don't go for that. I think you can
I
do it
turn my paper for sure all the time. This is my
all the
opportunity
time.
to be able to do that, right? Like, I'm not gonna get that chance when a person's in front of me, just like whoop whoop, just turning the person. So you might as well get all the lines real nice and fine while you have the opportunity to scooch everything around.
Yes.
And then they'll be prepared for when, so they'll be like really nice lines, how you wanted them when you're just tracing them off of somebody and that you can't move around.
I hope so. That's what
Yeah.
I do hope so. I guess I've been finding myself doing lots and lots of really fine line stuff, very very thin line stuff lately,
Yeah.
and it's popular.
Yep.
And I don't want to be scared of it, and I also don't want to make it terrible.
Yeah.
Does this make sense? Right?
Yeah.
Like you're so if you find that you're being asked to do lots of, again, it's outside of your comfort zone, but really, small stuff, you gotta go with the smaller needles. You
Yep.
just have to. You want to do the really fine line stuff. You got to use the small needles, and uh, it's just part of it. It really is. You can't use these big ass needles and like do them little tiny, things. It's
Not
like,
gonna happen.
yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, I saw a tattoo. It wasn't too old that I did, and it's like we had some intricate stuff. It was a big one. It was a big tattoo. It had some intricate areas, little belly scales on some snake or something. I was like, it's already coming together. You know what I mean? It's already starting to spread together. I mean, this is on a really good client, and I get it. So like we took up enough space, but even still, it happens, right? It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen either way. So you got to use really the right tool for the job in order to achieve it.
Totally.
But it is. I hope this was helpful, but I hope it was enjoyable. I had a great time hanging out, and Sandy, it's so great to see you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Oh, so
No,
early.
thanks for, I'm glad that it was still going on because I was like, oh, I'm actually awake for
You gotta
this.
keep doing
I
it.
I could go and do something, but I'm gonna make sure I come into here because I'm actually awake for it. So I'm gonna make sure I come in. And then I was like, boop, 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 boop. So I'm
Awesome.
glad I texted you.
No, I'm glad. No, I'm glad too. I was I just realized I haven't streamed it's been several weeks, and I went to get everything set up, and of course, like
Oh yeah,
technical error after technical error, all these little
of course.
difficulties. But I
Yes.
did it anyway, and I'm so glad. And again, it's really good
Yay.
to see you. Look at my sad little book. This needs some work. It does. It needs a little. It's like but you can see. I think the spirit has been captured, and so
Yeah.
again, I would um, probably just continue to work on this. Another great. This is another technique that you might consider, especially like if you like doing the hyper realistic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I duplicate it and I turn it into grayscale. Zoom in a little bit, see if we can make it happen. I don't know. But yeah, some curves and stuff. We can sort of heighten the contrast a bit. Right. And then so I don't know. So I might take I might select this. Select this out. Just a quick selection. Right. Get rid of this other stuff. Right. I could take this. I could really turn it down, quite a bit, and then bring this on top again. Sort of repeat the process. You know what I mean? Just repeat the process again, and like as long as as long as the layers are really on top of each other, I think you end up starting to have a really sophisticated, um, almost like what a bitmap, right? Like on off, right? This sort of a thing. So again, small curves.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that does.
Yeah, just bring out a few more details.
Yeah.
Let me get rid of that.
I feel like this is the sort of thing where my biggest thing that I've learned through just continuous repetition of the tools that we use in reinventing,
Mm-hmm.
the one that I would want to try and use the most in this one would be priority and reserve, because
Yeah,
my immediate thing would be, oh yeah, look at all these textures. I'm just gonna noodle away forever.
exactly.
But the way that it could be really effective is if there's like a couple spots that are the most noodly, and then there's parts that kind of don't have as quite as much attention to the noodling factor. And then those parts are gonna like really stand out more.
Absolutely. No, I think that's very well put because as we're like messing around with the levels, we can see the dark edge
Hmm.
is certainly like here along this.
Yeah,
Like there's some dark edge here, there's some really dark edge here. But this is the dark, and then all these areas they're not nearly as high contrast.
yeah,
Yeah, the contrast is actually just a little bit lower. So I think that's really astute because you could just put that you could just put black shading all over the place.
totally.
And it's like, oh my God, it's like
It would get really
yeah,
confusing. Like the important part is like this is a book, but there's a face in it. So we want to make sure that the face is like obvious. And so that's gonna be like where we concentrate the majority of our like real darks and noodling, and then everywhere else gets attention, but it's not quite as much.
yes. No, I really couldn't agree more. Um, and so again, like if you ended up having this really, to forgive me a bit here, but like if you had this really great line drawing, and then you were able to sort of superimpose a bit of these little detaily bits. Maybe this one's better. Almost. Um, distort. I like distort function because it really,
Mhm.
you can make perspective this way really, I think pretty simply, pretty easily.
Totally.
That's pretty close, again, you're kind of starting to see what I mean. Like you can take your line drawing, right, couple it up with a design that has a bit more of the textural information to it. And again, there's this really great section in Reinventing. Um, Guy talks about doing like black and gray, and he did this black and gray skull mountain. I think it was something like this, right?
Hmm.
And it was certainly a skull, and there's all these little pits and textures and stuff in it. And so there's what he's talking about. Yeah, a part of what he's talking about is like getting all of these again these details, but keeping the overall form in place. Um, so there's like these little detail shadow, and then there's the form shadow, and so
Yeah.
eventually, you know, I could see definitely putting in all those little piddly bits, getting them into the stencil. But it would just be that same process, right? Of like refining where are those edges? Are they a soft edge?
Hmm.
Are they a firm one? Do I need a hard
Hmm.
black outline, or do I need just sort of to sort of brush it in? And that's anyway. That's it. That's our show today. That is the show today. I'm stopping this stream. Hold on a second. All right, that's it. Anyway, Sandy, thank you so much for coming. It really is a pleasure to see you, a surprise, and
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Thanks
so
for having me.
tonight we could find you at Reinventing tonight, but we have Andy Chambers tonight. Is that right?
Yes, for lighting. I'm
It's a good
excited.
one. Yeah, it's a good one. Well, if you can't make it live, people can actually there's a whole library of really great seminars and also like classroom type of setting. So you could actually you could watch that, you could draw along. You're
Hmm.
really getting a big part of the experience. It is great to
Yeah.
have you there. So if
The
people want,
replays, there's like almost 200 replays at this point.
well, good luck getting through them.
Yeah.
There,
They just
there's
keep
some
making.
really awesome ones too because they're again like you watch. I don't know if I don't know if my drawing was incredibly inspiring today, but you can watch some really inspiring drawings like sort of just get made in front of your eyes. I think again it's enjoyable. There's an enjoyable
Yes.
part of it too, just to kind of be present. But
Agreed.
Well, so Sandy at reinventingthetattoo.com. You can reach you.
Yes.
Love that. Sandy, I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank everybody else. If you joined us, thank you. Make sure to like and subscribe because that always, I got to say that. Wait, did somebody just hop on? Here we go. We got Spirit.
Hi, Spirit.
He's in here somewhere. Well, anyway, we're signing off. Spirit, it's great to see you, but join us next time. There you are. You're gonna join us all next time too. So I'm not gonna be in next week, but the following week, that's my plan is to be back.
Nice.
I again, I just want to thank you all for coming. Spirit, I can't hear you if you were saying anything.
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Well, okay. Well, we'll catch up with Spirit. We're gonna catch up with all of you. Before
Yeah.
you know it. This has been Drawing for Tattooers. We want to thank Guy Etchison for being the founder and inspiration behind the Reinventing the Tattoo community. You can learn more by going to guyetchison.com or visiting reinventingthetattoo.com. Also want to thank Tattoo Now. Gabe Ripley, thank you for everything you do behind the scenes. I really appreciate all the effort and sacrifice. It makes a great space. So thank you both really for doing everything you do. Sandy, I want to thank you for being amazing behind the scenes reinventing person. You sacrifice every Monday to do our to proctor our drawing groups, and it's
I love
amazing.
it.
It's
the
really
best.
great, and I
Thanks
want
for
to thank,
continuing to be there.
of course. Well, that's good. We need people to come because that's we need you. That's really what makes it what it is.
Yeah.
But you're again, you do it, and it's just great to rely on you and show up, and it's a good group. So I really couldn't recommend it enough to anybody that's watching. So if you're catching us on the replay, come to Reinventing, and
Yeah. We'd love to see you.
we would love to see you. All right, everybody. Happy drawing, and
Yeah.
we'll see you next stream. All right. Thanks.